All right, I'm going to continue the work with our chapter 3.6, 3.7 with fractions test. And we're going to the next page, actually page 4 it says, which doesn't make sense, but the fraction page. So if we start with problem number 5, we have 2/5 plus 1/9. In order to add fractions, we need to have the same size pieces. So I'm going to make each of these denominators 45. And in order to make this 45, I would have had to multiply this by 9. And since I multiplied this by 9, my two pieces were, of course, cut into 9 more pieces also. So we end up with 8 over 45. And down here, I'm going to multiply both top and bottom, numerator and denominator, by 5 to get 45. So I end up with 5 over 45. If I add together 18 plus 5, I get 23. And then remember what my denominator is, 45. So my answer here would be 23/45. And if you look, that was a choice. My answer is B. Number 6. Once again, we need common denominators. This bottom number should be 6, because we could use 6 for both of them. So I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 3. So I end up with 3, 6. And I'm going to take away, there's a negative 1, 6. I'm going to take away 1, 6. If I do that, I end up with 3 minus 1, which is 2. So I have to take away one of those pieces. I end up with 2, 6. And I do need to simplify that. So I'm going to divide numerator and denominator by 2, sorry, not 3, by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my answer for number 6 would also be B. Number 7, 1/6 minus a negative 5/8. Well, I could take care of this right away. Those two negatives next to each other really mean I'm going to have 1/6 plus 5/8. And now I need to have a common denominator. And I can make my common denominator 24. So if I multiply this by 4 and this by 4, I end up with 4 over 24. If I multiply this by 3 and this by 3, I end up with 15 over 24. And then if I add my number of pieces, I have 4 pieces out of 24 here and 15 pieces out of 24 here, I end up with 19 pieces out of 24, which gives me the answer B for number 7. Number 8, before I can add the mixed numbers up, well, actually I wouldn't even have to worry about that, but I need to have a common denominator. So I'm going to write this as 1 7/10 plus, and I'm going to make these both tenths. So I'm going to take this times 5 and this times 5. So I end up with 2 whole pieces plus 5/10, which makes sense. 5/10 could be simplified down to 1/2. Okay? Now if I add this up, I have 1 whole pie and 2 whole pies, which is 3 whole pies. I have 7 pieces out of 10 and 5 pieces out of 10, so that means I have 12 pieces out of 10. Now if you notice here, I have more than 1 whole pie, because there's 10 pieces in a whole, so I can take one of these, I can take 10 of these 12 pieces, right? I'll have 2 left. I can take 10 of these and I can put it into a whole pie. So really I have 4 and 2/10. Now I still need to simplify 2/10, so if I divide the numerator and denominator by 2, I end up with 4 and 1/5. And that would be answer A. Number 9, I'm subtracting here. So I'm going to change this to 21, okay? So I'll multiply both the numerator and denominator by 3. I end up with 4 and 6 over 21 minus. Over here I'm going to change this to 21, so I'm going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by 7. So I end up with 1 and 7 over 21. Now, the problem with this one is that I do not have enough pieces here to subtract yet. So I'm going to have to take one of these whole pies and cut it into 21 pieces. So when I do that, I end up with just 3 whole pies, and then I have 21 pieces I have to put in with these 6 pieces. So I have 27 pieces out of 21. And now I can subtract. I have 3 whole pies, and I'm going to take away 1. I'm left with 2 whole pies. I have 27 pieces, and I'm going to take away 7. I'm left with 20 pieces out of 21. So the correct answer would be A for number 9. Number 10, we're multiplying. And it doesn't look like I can do any simplifying here before I multiply. So it's a negative times a positive, so I know I have a negative fraction. 4 times 1 is 4. 5 times 3 is 15. I have a negative 4/15, which is B. Number 11, I'm going to change these to, before I multiply, change them to an improper fraction. So, and the other thing I'm going to take care of right away is I have a negative times a negative, so my answer is already going to be positive. So I'm not even going to worry about those negative signs here, but anyway, if I change this mixed number to to an improper fraction, I have 3 whole pies. There are 2 pieces in a pie, so I end up with 6 pieces in these 3 pies, plus that piece would give me 7 pieces out of 2. And I'm taking this times, I have 3 whole pies, I have 10 pieces in a pie. That means these 3 pies will have 30 pieces in it, plus 1 more will give me 31 pieces out of 10. Now remember, a negative times a negative makes a positive, so whatever my answer will be, it'll be positive, right? I can't do any crossing out, so I'm just going to have to take 7 times 31, which will give me 217, and 2 times 10, which gives me 20. Now, I know that 20 can go into 217, and what I could do here is I could take and think to myself, how many times does that 20 go into 217? So if we even divide it by 217 divided by 20, we would get 10.85 is what we get on the calculator, which we don't want, okay? So I can look at it and just say, well, there are 10 20s in here, which gives me 200. I have 17 extra pieces, and I have 20 pieces in a whole. So my answer would be 10 and 17 20ths, which is B. Going on to number 12. I'm dividing fractions. It says find the quotient. Quotient means division there. So I'm going to take dividing fractions, that's our cry, flip the second number, and then multiply is what we did before. Now, if you notice, this is a negative, so a positive times a negative will give me a negative fraction, okay? And then top times the top, bottom times the bottom, end up with a negative 5/24, which is answer A. Now I'm going to stop the video. Oh, we've got a couple more fraction problems on the back, sorry. Moving on to number 13, this is division again. To change this mixed number into an improper fraction, 2 pieces, there are 3 pieces in a whole. So that means I'll have 6 pieces, 2 times 3, 6 pieces in my whole pies there, 2 extra pieces here. So I end up with 8/3. Remember, this is going to be a negative, okay? And I'm going to divide it by 4/5. So a negative divided by a positive will give me a negative answer. I might want to put that over there just to remind myself, okay? Or I could even cross off if there are any positive answers in there. I could cross them off, but there aren't any. Dividing fractions, that's our cry. Flip the second number, and then I can multiply. Now, I can simplify this one before I multiply. I can divide both of these by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. So I already took care of multiplying the numerator and denominator by the same number early. I don't see any other way we can simplify before we multiply, so now I'll just take the top times the top and the bottom times the bottom. Remember, this is a negative answer. If I change this into a mixed number now, 3 goes into 10 3 times, and I'll have 1 extra piece left. Remember, this is a negative 3 1/3. So right here, my answer would be A. And you wouldn't wouldn't have to have a negative there, but it would be A, and I know my answer is negative because I remembered saying negative divided by a positive. Number 14, Sue needs 2 1/3 cups flour for each batch of cookies. How many complete batches can she make with 5 cups of flour? So I have to figure out how many times 2 1/3 will go into 10. And if I take and I change this to an improper fraction, 3 times 2 is 6 because there's 6 pieces in those 2 pies, and 1 extra piece gives me 7 pieces. There are 3 pieces in a whole. Dividing fractions, that's our cry. Flip the second number, then multiply. Now I can take the top times the top and the bottom times the bottom. And if you know, 7 will go into that 30 approximately 4 times, okay? Actually 4 and a little more, because 7 times 4 is 28, so we would actually have 2 7ths left. So we know that we can make 4 batches. Can't make more than that because we don't have quite enough for another batch, but my answer would be D for that one.